All right, welcome back to another episode of the YoungPro podcast. I am here with my co-host Dustin Kupka, and we are joined today with Micah Loveless. He is 37 years old, owns his own construction company, happily married with 2 kids, so he's a family man, and he is from Urbandale, Iowa. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. How are you doing?
You bet. I'm doing great.
The snow kind of caught everybody off guard this morning and slowed things down.
Yeah. We've been lucky this year. We've only had one other snow, so it's been good though.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
How's that been with your construction side of things? Is that slowing the team down or?
No, not really. I mean, we kind of plan interior projects for the cold months if we can. So
Okay.
we were inside today, so it wasn't a big issue.
How far booked out are you normally?
Only a few weeks right now.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad. It's a little bit slower than it has been. Summer months we get a few months out, but
we kind of jumped into it. Normally we like to hear a little bit of the background story. I know Dustin knows you, and this is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
Real quick, did your kids have school on time?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yours didn't?
No.
2-hour
delay.
When do yours usually start school?
That's true. 8.
Oh, mine started 9. So
you go to a public school or private school? Really?
Public school.
Urbandale starts at 9?
Urbandale starts at 9, yeah.
Well, I feel like when I went to school, it was like 7:30 the school bell rang.
Actually, Lauren and I she mentioned the same thing. She's like, it was like 7:20 when we had to go.
Yeah.
Well, 8:05, 9 o'clock for Urbandale, and yeah.
Yeah, my wife's a teacher in Des Moines, and they start at 7:15.
Oh, that's nice.
7:15.
Well, no, not nice. I'm sorry. At Des Moines, they start at 7:15?
Des Moines Public, yeah.
Wow.
What time they get out?
3. I think kids get out 2:45.
And what time does Urbandale get out?
3:30, 35.
So starts at 7:15, they're out at 2:45. The other one starts at 9, and they're out at 3:30.
Yeah.
Sounds like a way better deal to do that.
Yeah. It's good for snow days, but man, getting Mike and I were talking about having to get his kids to school at 9.
Yeah.
Like all those parents
it's tough.
are
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
8 to 5 corporate America. I mean, we're kind of in that.
Right.
And yeah, you have to all those parents have to figure out what the heck
how they're going to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's a big deal.
So
but yeah, man, just
let's get into your story a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Of course, Mike and I we go a little bit back.
How long have you known each other?
Gosh, it's probably been
15
or so. 15
Jeez,
years.
both the guests you've had on, you've known for well over a decade.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, Dustin's older than he looks.
Yeah, he is.
Thank you. Do you like my beard?
Oh, is that what a beard looks like?
Ouch.
This guy is just full of it.
Goatee coming, right here.
Messing with Micah before things get going. Messing with me.
He's got to keep the humor light.
Man.
Puts a smile on the face.
I guess
for the cameras.
We can't do 2 podcasts in one day because he's.
I'm rowdy. I'm ready to go.
The host is getting kind
warmed up. Warmed up.
Wild man over here. No, but Mike and I, we've known each other for 15 years, and I've.
You met while you were at Ruby's?
Rubes.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I mean, I was still working at Rubes when Mike and I met, but we had met because of different business opportunities that we were basically working and being a part of, and business teams that we were part of.
What was that?
That was through leadership team development and the Amway Corporation.
I thought I heard you saying something about there, and I was like, I bet it was Amway.
Yep. Years
ago. How did you do with Amway?
Not as good as Dustin. Yeah.
So
you guys killed it.
Man, I mean, how old were you when you got started?
Oh, early 20s.
Yeah.
21.
So he was 21. I was 25.
Yeah.
When we got started, but we probably didn't meet each other until like 26, 27. Because I think I was in the business for maybe a year or 2 before.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But yeah, got to know Micah through that, and he could tell a story before that. But just one thing that I really appreciate about Micah is everything. Of course, I've known him for 15 years, and it seems like there are people out there that I guess just understand they whatever they do, they're successful at. It don't matter what. It could be whatever they put their mind to, whatever lane they choose, they kill it. And he's one of those guys.
That's awesome.
He's just like, what do I want to do? For example, construction, I'll do construction. And we're not talking like finished carpenter, incredible work, high-end kitchens, like $40,000 kitchen he can do.
Wow.
Or, hey, let's learn how to build a website, which he did for us, me and Kurt, when we got started.
Really?
So we'll talk about that. Or photography. Oh, hey, Micah's like, yeah, I'm got my own photography business going. I'm like, all right. So he did all my listings for my real estate.
What?
So he's like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And he did insurance. I mean, so whatever the dude does, he just does really well. But tell us a little bit your story,
Childhood,
kind of where you're at,
all that stuff, and
Yeah.
so we can dive in deeper, find out what's going on with this guy.
Yeah.
Could be a long story, but so I was born in Minnesota. That's where my mom's family's from. My dad's from Indiana, West Lafayette. That's why I'm a Purdue Boilermaker fan. So we lived in Minnesota, moved down here after 5 years when I was 5. Moved down here so my dad could go to medical school.
Oh.
And so it's kind of a cool story. So I think between the time I was born and the time that he decided to be a doctor, I think my parents counted up, he had like 35 jobs or something like that.
No
like
way.
A crazy amount. Every couple months he would change jobs. And they were like, all right, we got to figure this out. And so they were like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor, which is a huge jump from like skipping jobs every 2 months.
Every month, yeah.
And so he went back to school, finished his degree, didn't even have a degree yet. Went back to school after he had 4 kids, finished his degree, and then went to medical school, got accepted to medical school at what is now DMU here in Des Moines.
Okay.
Which is why we moved to Iowa. And then he did residency, and he didn't become a practicing doctor until I was 16 years old.
Wow. What was the field that he was in?
He was an emergency room doctor. ER doctor.
Wow. That's high stress.
Yeah, so he didn't do it for long. He doesn't do it anymore.
Really?
Yeah. When I was thinking about what to do, like I was in high school, I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. He's like, just don't be a doctor, whatever you do. So yeah, okay, all right, good advice. So we moved down here, lived in a few different cities around Iowa.
Okay.
Ended up in Norwalk. So I grew up here in Norwalk.
Oh.
And today we live in Urbandale. So after high school, I went to 1 year college, mostly to see if I could play basketball. So I was on the basketball team at a college called Evangel University.
Okay. Was that here in Iowa?
Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
So it's not about 6 hours away by car. And it was fun while it lasted. Loved college, hated class.
Yep, just totally.
Typical of most.
Can relate to that.
Most kids. So I left after a year, came back here to get into construction.
And so, that is 1920?
I graduated high school in 2004. So that was in 2005.
Okay.
2005, 2006.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
So I worked construction for a while. The market kind of tanked around 2008, if you remember. Yep. So that's when the real estate market kind of took a dive. I ended up taking a position at an insurance company, which was a big change. So I went from construction to basically customer service in an insurance company. So I worked on the phones for 3 years straight. Worked with financial advisors, had to get a Series 6 financial license for that. And that was a good experience looking back on it. I really didn't enjoy it at the time, but being on the phones for 3 years straight, it really teaches you how to talk to people and gives you a lot of communication skills that I didn't have before. So that was good. Yeah. Then I went back to construction after that. And then I went for several years. And then I got more into the commercial side of construction. I took what ended up being a sales position. I was the director of sales for a commercial construction association here in Iowa. Okay. I was there for about 6 years, and then about a year and a half ago, roughly, I started my own contracting business.
And how big is your team now?
Just me and one other guy right now.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So you're still like very much so in your projects.
Very much. Yeah, yep. So I'm still the main driver of the actual work that gets done. Kind of looking to not do that this year. So this coming year, I'm going to do my best to work myself kind of off the job site, kind of more into the sales and management role.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
How long has the guy that you have been with you?
Pretty much the whole time. So he's my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So we work together well.
Is that a weird dynamic, or you said
it's really not bad. We mesh together pretty well, and we haven't had any issues. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you normally focus on, like you said, like $40,000 kitchens, or is it more high end stuff than?
So everything
working for flippers.
So we don't do any work for flippers. We do.
I tried. It's like, my God, come on, man.
We do
It's like,
all
you
residential, so we don't do any commercial. But it's. And that's one of the big things that I learned last year, which was our first full year in business, is kind of the different types of projects that I want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've done a little bit of everything from handyman work all the way up to, pretty expensive kitchens and bathrooms. And, you kind of got to find that sweet spot that you want to be in. For me, I don't always do it for the love of the project, although I do love a lot of the projects we do. I want to be profitable. I do it for the money.
Yeah.
And so kind of finding that.
Love that honesty.
Yes. I mean, if you weren't paying me, I'd stop doing it, you know, type of thing. So, I want to find the projects that are most profitable. What can we do that's going to take the least amount of time that's going to make us the most money? Yeah. And so kind of the small to medium sized projects is what I found does that.
So you're bidding and not doing hourly.
Right.
You're bidding per project. Yeah,
exactly.
How does that, I've always kind of wondered how that works. If you off bid, like, are you set to that price? Is that just a L or a loss, a hit that you take? Or do you go back to the client and say, you know what?
So I've never gone back to a client and said, I need more money. I mean, that's to me, it's part of having your X's, dotting your T's, dotting your I's, don't dot the T's, dotting your I's, crossing your T's. When you bid a project, it's the contractor's job to know what it's going to cost. Yeah. So unless something unforeseen happens, which does happen, and you can let the client know about that. If you're opening up a wall, I can say, hey, we don't know what's in this wall, so it's possibly, there might be extra cost here. Yeah. But other than something unforeseen, I've never gone back to a client and said, hey, I need more money. So there's been projects I've taken a hit on that I've lost money on, and that's just part of. It's part of education, it's part of business. Just don't make the same mistake twice, especially when it comes to bidding, and you'll be all right.
So go ahead.
The interesting thing, I think so Micah, you mentioned about the corporate worth that commercial contractor, and that was something that tell them, because I mean, people probably listen to that and be like, oh, he's some kind of a corporate, but tell us what your job was. Kind of explain to them about your job with the video, and then you started learning how to do the videography. And then
so that wasn't even part of the job. It just became part of the job. And so that particular company I worked for, it was a commercial construction association. So it wasn't a contractor. So if you've ever heard of like Home Builders Association, or every industry has their own association. Yeah. This was an association for commercial contractors here in Iowa. And so I worked with commercial contractors. I was hired to manage what's called a plan room. So contractors can essentially purchase project leads. And so we gathered project leads and sold them as subscriptions to contractors. And so we did that, kind of moved a little bit more into sales. And then, my company I kind of had an interest in videography and photography for a while. When I started out, obviously I was terrible, just like everyone. Some things you just have to be willing to suck at for a while until you get good. And so I wasn't good, but I realized that our company was spending, I think somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 a year on videography stuff. Wow. Because we would put together we would give away awards, and we would put together videos for those awards, cool. Best contractor on a certain type of project in Iowa type of thing. And so I just went to my boss and I said, hey, I can do these videos, buy me the equipment, buy me the cameras, buy me the computer, whatever. And
run with it.
And I'll do it. And they said, hey, that sounds great. And so I started doing it, started kind of investing in my own equipment as time went. And I just got good at videography and photography. And
I love videography.
I ran it as a business for a while. And a year and a half ago when I left that company, I kind of told myself, I'm going to do videography. I was mostly on the corporate side, so I did a lot of corporate video. I'm going to do that and construction, just because it was really the first time, when I had a family, I had big responsibilities that I was going out on my own. So I kind of felt like, I got to have multiple streams of income. So I said, I'm going to do those two things. Construction got so busy so fast that I just ditched it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Sold a lot of my camera stuff. I kept a lot of it.
Really?
I still
do behind the scenes content for like the fixes that you're doing and stuff?
Mostly just photography. I've done a couple videos, but I love landscape photography. So I do a lot of that when we travel. And then I do a lot of project photos too. I take my own project photos.
Were you using Final Cut or Premiere?
I use Final Cut.
Yeah, that's what I used to.
Yeah.
I did it in college, actually. That's how kind of a lot of this started. Was I did digital broadcasting for like 2.5 years at William Penn in Oskaloosa.
Yeah.
They have a really good build. It's like a whole building just dedicated to that. So I wrestled and had a scholarship and then did that. And that's when the real estate stuff came along. I decided I needed a way to get more leads and meet more people, and we didn't have money for marketing and advertising. So I was like, well, TikTok, here I come.
Do it myself.
So yeah.
It's a great skill to have.
It really is. Yeah.
Especially in this day and age.
And I've kind of got him to start making some it was funny when we first started doing this, he was so awkward. I've kind of made this joke a couple times, but just like he just freeze like during the headlights. And I'm here like one shot and things like, come on, bro. Like just killed that,
all the time. Like, I'm like,
it's practice. It really is a skill. Like you have,
it's like you gotta know, you gotta get good at it. You gotta have lots of practice. And he was always making fun of me. I'm like, you'd be taking a video and then he'd put it to me. I'm like, what am I supposed to do right now? And Ethan's like, you've had one job, man. Just open your mouth. Oh, so funny. But one of the things I think that was really cool that you've incorporated, Micah, that I think, which is really cool, is one of the things is he was able to kind of tie these skill sets of course, construction, right? So obviously he's really good at that, but then all his photos and videography and whatever, and really kind of found his niche and really puts together some really cool photos and videos on the job. Like his social media is like, most construction companies, they don't have what Micah can do, right? So it's just, there's time lapse and all these different things that
that's cool.
Most people aren't doing what he does. And so he's really took what he's, good at and formed us to produce a phenomenal product that he can, share to the world. And so now he gets high-end clients and then the ones that pay him for quality work he does. So
that was going to be my question. Do you think that's gotten you more leads from people seeing the videos, or when you show a client what you've done, then that kind of secures them?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on the client. I haven't done as many. I think I've only done one time-lapse video. I need to get better about it, but sometimes you just get started on the project and you're like, I forgot to take before pictures even, let alone after pictures. Yeah. But, I think one thing I learned, one thing you have to learn is sales, right? So I think that's the most important skill that anyone can learn in business, because then you can sell anything. Yeah. If you start a construction company, you can sell it. If you start a podcast, you can sell it. Whatever you want to do, you can sell it. And so I think being professional in the marketing has really helped me sell higher end projects. And so when I'm not criticizing any other construction companies, a lot of them have great stuff going on, but when you can put together a professional visual look, maybe when you can present yourself professionally, I think it allows you to charge more. And so, I can go to a client and say, with confidence, say, this deck is going to be $50,000. And they say,
we're not talking like, what's the highest deck that you had last year?
Last year, probably about $50,000.
$50,000.
Is this the guy that was just doing the decks? Is that him, or is that a different guy?
Maybe Mike is one of. Mike is.
You said there was one friend that you had that like solely focused.
He's solely. He focused on a lot of stuff, but that was another friend too.
Okay.
But Micah has some. Yeah, he has success
some
doing
gnarly decks.
But 50,000, I didn't know it was that much.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was actually, to be fair, that was 2 decks on the same house, so it was a $50,000 project. But it was.
What's the biggest project you've done in one house?
That has to be it, right? $50,000 deck.
We did, Probably. That was probably
Was that
it.
composite? Like what? How big was it? Like
Yeah, I mean, both of them were. There was 2 decks that were pretty good size. Of course, it was composite. When you get to that price, you're not going to do anything else.
yeah.
But it was a complete rebuild of 2 decks.
Oh, there was already an existing deck, so you had to do rip off.
Rip off and put both of them back on.
Wow.
I mean, we've done a project that's about that much. That was a kitchen, but I mean,
are you the GC then too?
I'm the GC.
Okay.
Yeah, I do most of the work, and I'm the GC.
Do they, since they're higher end clients, are they the ones responsible for design?
No. So, I mean, the design, when it comes to a deck, the design is, 9 times out of 10, it's just, hey, just put back what's there.
Yeah.
Hey, take it off. If we need it rebuilt, put back what's there. They choose the products, so they choose the color of decking, handrail, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of design work to be had. On other projects like kitchen remodels, we don't do design work. I'm not great at it, if I'm honest. It's not one of my strength areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll work with the kitchen designer who will draw up, who can come in, take exact measurements, and give the client a drawing of what things are going to look like.
Okay.
And they let them come to the showroom, pick out cabinets, pick out countertops, things like that.
They like personally.
Right.
That's cool. That's really nice.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So so in your like I know with the construction, what do you feel like is your kind of like what you're best at? What you like doing most
Area
of?
expertise.
What's your Loveless construction?
I would say decks.
Decks are kind of your.
If I could do decks full time, I would do it full time.
Gotcha.
In the summer months, we try to focus almost exclusively on that. So, and that's just because I've kind of fallen on that because it's so profitable. I mean, there's almost no deck that you're going to do now. If it's a full, tear off and redo, that's under $15,000, even if it's cheap material. It's just what it costs now.
Jeez.
If it's higher end material, 20-25 is pretty common. But on those, I mean, you can make, when you think about it, like a big kitchen remodel, I mean, that could take you, a good example is we did one big kitchen remodel last year. Took about a month. Took longer than that, with some back ordered cabinets, but for the most part, it was about a month. And we were there 2.5, 3 weeks ourselves. Subs were there the rest of the time. We were there 2.5, 3 weeks. And I think we made $7,000 profit on that project.
Jeez.
Which is
how much?
$7,000, which is really low, for 2.5, 3 weeks. But on a deck, countless decks we did last year were, $10,000 to $15,000 decks that would take us 2 to 4 days, and you make $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
And so when you compare those two, it's like, okay, if you love doing kitchens, do kitchens. And it's possible I underbid that kitchen by a little bit, so that was partly my fault. But if the purpose is to make money, let's make money.
Then let's make money. Did you remodel your personal residence, or did you buy it up and functioning how it is currently?
It was pretty nice when we bought it. Dustin sold it to me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
A year and a half ago, actually. I actually started my construction company. So we bought that house like a couple weeks before I quit my corporate job.
Well, that's a good decision right there.
Yeah, that's why I did it. Yeah.
Not been happy had you done it prior.
Exactly. So I wanted the income to be able to qualify for the house. And so we bought the house. As soon as the house was finished, I resigned.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Most people are like, they want to do that. But he like literally, and he made, good money at this corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, we got to get you a house bought. So he's like, all right, got that. It's like, all right, check, got that done. I'm done. Just quit his job.
Just right away.
I'm like, you really did just quit your job? He's like, yeah, dude, I told you I was going to quit my job. I'm like, I didn't think you would actually quit.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Now you got this, larger house payment.
Yeah. Like, it was part of a plan, though. I mean, it was.
That's what's so.
I knew in
awesome.
I knew in February that I was going to quit my job in June.
Oh, and you closed in June.
Yeah, so we closed June something, maybe very end of May.
Did you? How old are your kids?
Right now they're 11 and 9.
Oh, okay. So they were still both.
This is what was cool though. So Mike and I we're trying to figure this out, plan this, and Mike was trying to, because he's a planner. He has a plan, he executes, and so we were sitting down like in October, November of that 2021, right? 2021. Yeah.
2020.
2020
Yeah.
of October. We're sitting down, kind of game plan, and we had looked at his house, and like he was kind of like, you know, spitball, like, how much can I get for this? And he had been doing work on this house, and you know, putting like some shiplap, making all this designer stuff.
Yeah, I remodeled all of that house.
Huh?
I remodeled all of that.
Yeah,
house,
he pretty
100%.
much had this sweet, you know, bathroom. I mean, this house was, you know, he made it nice, really nice. And so, but we were sitting there and we were, you know, trying to figure out pricing, and what were we quoted? Like we thought maybe get 300 for your house that on that December. Remember that?
I don't remember.
We had to like we were like
you're talking about several months before we actually sold it.
Yeah, it was like $300,000. Was like, man, dude, I don't know. It was 290. It's like, I don't know. We could push it to maybe 300 because he was like, man, we got to push this thing.
Yeah.
And then that's when the market just went
skyrocketed.
Stupid.
Yeah.
And then we were like getting together like that March or whatever, April. And then we were doing comps and we're like, dude, I think you can get like 350 for this house. And so the fact that because he really wanted to get it sold, but then something happened, life kind of, you know, got distracting or whatever. And then the market just kind of matured and literally put like $50,000 in his pocket.
That's awesome.
Like it sold for $360.
Yeah.
Which was
jeez.
Yeah. So we ended up selling.
I still can't believe it sold for that.
Yeah. So he sells his house for $360, and then was able to buy another house, and was like, he went from a 2-car, because everybody, now here's what's so cool. Everybody in every market, every real estate market, I don't care what market it is, coming from the real estate guy, right? The agent guy, can find a deal. There are some people like, oh, I don't want to buy. It's you know, it's a seller's market.
Rates are too high.
You know, there's always these excuses. And we talked about it, and Micah, you know, had, you know, it was kind of, because everyone was like, man, I can sell high, but
then I got to buy high.
Yeah. And so we were talking through all these different scenarios and like, you know, trying to go, and we went and looked at a bunch of houses, but he ends up finding this beautiful home. It was a situation, I think it was a divorce. So these people were going through divorce, and was able to go from a 2-car to 3-car. I was like 600 more square foot.
That's quite the upgrade.
3-bedroom went to 4-bedroom, or was it 4 to 5? You have 5-bedroom?
3 to 4.
3 to 4-bedroom, bigger square footage, you know, overall.
All the things you need.
Everything he really was looking for, and just the lot was awesome. Ended up having to pay like killed it on his offer, because I don't know.
Well, how many offers were there?
There was 5 offers,
at least 5,
and we did like an acceleration clause.
It was just that time in the market where there was 5 offers on every house.
Yeah, 5 more, and we did an acceleration clause, and we were able to basically, it was like listed for like $380 something. Anyways, ended up buying it, got like for like $60,000 more, but he got a 1 more car garage, 600 more square foot, like all these updates. And I'm like, Micah, I always use Micah's story. I'm like, dude.
But you know what I always think about? To this day, I still think about this. Because there were so many offers on that house, right? And I think they listed it way low on purpose.
Yeah.
It was like 380 or something like that. We ended up getting it for 405. 405. Right? Yeah. And within those offers, I don't remember how we figured this out, but there was a couple or a guy who offered 400, so 20,000 over asking.
Wow.
And $10,000 in earnest money, or 20,000 earnest money, and he didn't get it.
Non-refundable?
No. He didn't cost him that.
It didn't cost him,
but earnest money typically is what? It's not $10,000.
No, not for 400.
No,
maybe $2,000 for a $400.
Yeah.
Maybe that's high.
And so he really wanted this house, and I just keep thinking, I'm like, man, could you imagine being that guy? Like he's got to be like, what? What do I got to do?
Yeah.
But it was that whatever clause that we put
acceleration
in there, clause that got it.
And so
I feel bad for that guy.
Yeah, 20,000 plus over, and he has to. Yeah, he's like, well, sorry, you didn't get it. You know.
Now, so have you flipped houses as well, or have you done any kind of the investing real estate on?
Yeah,
on that side?
Really early in my construction career, I did that. So my dad invested in some properties that I fixed up. Back then, it really wasn't as much about investing as much as it was just learning, because this was 2005, 2006. And so it was one of those things where we bought the house, I did all the work myself, even though I had no idea what I was doing, because my first thing I did in construction was flip houses. And so it was, looking back on it, it was good for learning. It wasn't great for investment, but it was good for learning.
That's so important though, especially as your business grows, you kind of can have that to look back on. My first, I think I was supposed to make like 33 on my first flip, and I ended up making like 19, and that was like a hard, just mistakes I made, learning curve, and it's been a journey since then. Yeah.
Well, that's not bad for your first one though. A lot of people lose money.
Yeah.
You didn't lose money.
I got started pretty young though. I think when we met, I was 25, and I had like 2 or 3 properties or something. It was then in the middle of my first flip, and it was just such a different ball game than what I was used to with rentals. But
are you still doing them?
Rentals?
Flips?
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of one right now. It's
nice.
in Boone. That should be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks. That'll hit the market. Should not be on for long. It's like a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. We built a 2-car garage. Bought it for $42,000. Probably got 65, 70 into it. I mean, it was we got into it, and it just needed so much more than we initially thought. Yeah. Electric had to be done and stuff like that. Just a normal case of things. Yep. And I think we'll push it at 155 or something like that. So not like a huge home run. We lost some of that, but we'll get all that money back plus the profits, and that'll free some stuff up. And then we got an apartment building together, a 57-plex, and there's 2 units in there that need to be done. And then I have a 9-unit apartment building in Des Moines, and I'm turning 2 of those units into Airbnbs. And those are, me and him were in there the other day ripping out carpet and scraping off the popcorn ceiling and just doing all that stuff. Looks great on TikTok, by the way. As soon as that demo's done, in comes the construction team, and I'm out. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, my first experience in construction was, so I would go up to Minneapolis. My uncle has flipped houses full time for 35 years up in Minneapolis. And so I would go up, a week at a time in the summers and work with him. Okay. So he's always talking about flips. And so I learned a lot about business from him in construction.
What are we asked this to his brother, Shane, what are some of the issues you've kind of encountered as a business? So that's a lot different than being, issues with your boss as an employee. But what are some of the setbacks where, you maybe like, oh, I don't know if this is for me? And then on the flip side, I'd love to hear like a win that you had where you're like, I love this or whatever. Yeah.
Issues, I would say the biggest thing I've run into so far is just being a one-man band. When you first start a business, you're everything, right? Yeah. So you're, I'm the sales and the estimating guy. Yeah. I'm the marketing and advertising person. I'm the HR guy. I'm the actual construction guy. I actually have to do the work. I'm the project manager. I have to manage the subs if there are subs. Yeah. And so you're everything, and it gets to be tough because you just especially when you're busy, you just don't have time to do everything. And so that, I would say that's the biggest issue. But finding ways to, as you get into, year 2 and year 3, you start to find ways to be a little bit more efficient. So you find programs or platforms that allow you to save time. QuickBooks has been a big one for me.
I was going to ask that. Yeah, this is something I've talked to him that I'm struggling with right now, because I have my real estate company that I own by myself, and then I co-own a construction company, and it's just such a different ball game. Yeah. But that allowed me to keep more money in house. In the beginning, we had so much money going out to subs, and I wasn't getting those credit card points and all those things. But yeah, have you been pretty successful with QuickBooks? Or you have a bookkeeper that runs that for you?
So I've got an accountant that does monthly payroll and all of the accounting type things. But QuickBooks has allowed me to, and I'm sure I'm not using it to its full capability, but so far I use it to not just keep track of the books, but I use it to do estimates, send invoices. I can, the QuickBooks app, Dustin and I were just talking about this the other day. It's awesome because it just lets me save time. I can just snap a picture of a receipt, and it automatically pairs it with whatever the transaction is on the bank account or the credit card.
Is that QuickBooks Online or into it? Okay.
Yeah, QuickBooks Online.
Yeah. Jeez,
So-
we need to get QuickBooks sponsorship with all this talk right now.
I mean, I'm sure there's competitors out there, but I don't think anyone's figured it out like QuickBooks has. So that's been good. I mean, that's kind of an issue and a win.
We've been talking about the QuickBooks and that app, and
Yeah.
if you have separate entities or separate,
That's the issue that we can't ran into.
if you have
so many
because we have
entities.
so many different entities.
Have you looked into that? If there's
I haven't.
No.
It's like $50 a pop per entity, as far as I'm aware.
Is it?
Well, that's for the
Yeah.
online, right? For the online
Online,
version
yeah.
of QuickBooks, but if you're online with QuickBooks, can you use the app to do what he's saying, where you can find the entity, click a
picture,
and have it
add
saved to that
yeah.
that certain project or entity?
Yeah.
Well,
If anyone who knows,
you
let
could
us know.
probably just. I mean, as long as you put them all under the same account, you could probably just choose the entity and then snap the picture, couldn't you? You might have to pay again, another $50 a month, but
$50 a month per. Because I mean, that's what it is now. Is I think it's
if it's
$50 or $60 per entity.
with as much as your time's worth, if you save 30 minutes a month, it's worth it.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, $50, right?
Right.
That's a
Yeah, the
great
$50
point.
a month is it's as long as it does that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we can, if you take that picture, put it in like a Google Drive, which we've been doing, it's just like, then you got to take the information, you got to plug it into
Mhm.
QuickBooks. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
it's not effective at all. So yeah, Mike and I were just talking about that, which I have not called them and find out if they do that, but
So was the win that you were talking about is that you learned how to better operate QuickBooks?
That's a win. Yeah. That's a big one. Another win would be just kind of figuring out, every business owner has to figure out what they want to specialize in. You can't do in construction or any industry, you can't do everything. At a certain point you have to turn stuff away. So I don't think you can be great at everything unless you have a really big team, which you don't when you're starting out. So
No, you don't have that overhead to pay them.
right.
Yeah.
So I think I've kind of figured out there's a lot of bigger projects that I just have to say no to. I say, hey, it's too big for us. We're not going to do it. There's some things during certain times of the year, I'll say no to small stuff, handyman stuff. I'll just say, I don't have time to do it. But right now we're taking on a little more handyman stuff just because we're a little bit slower, but
what do you think 2023? I mean, what do you think in the remodeling? Is it going to be big this year? Is it going to be like 2022? What's your thoughts?
here in this area, I mean, I have a hard time believing that it would take too much of a hit from where it was last year.
Yeah.
Right now, us personally, we're a little bit slower than we were last year, but I don't, as soon as we get into the warm season, I don't think it'll be an issue. So there's several clients that we've already have lined up for decks. We just can't get to them yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll affect a certain percentage. The interest rates affect a certain percentage of the market. People aren't going to borrow money at 3% anymore to do projects. So it's going to be cash clients only, probably,
Sheesh.
which will tighten it up a little bit. Another thing is, new homes aren't selling like they were. And so a lot of those new home contractors have moved into remodeling a little bit more. And so there's a little bit more competition than there was. But I don't think the amount of work will go down.
Does your wife work? Or does
She's
she
a
help you on the-
teacher.
Oh, she's a
Yep.
teacher.
So she teaches kindergarten.
Does she help with the business stuff, or is it more just being a safe spot and peaceful when you come home? That's where she.
Yeah, she doesn't really help right now. At one point, she might leave her job and then do some book work or something like that.
Yeah,
But she doesn't do too much in the business right now.
fair enough. What about the kids? Do you bring them to the projects? Do they enjoy that lifestyle?
Not quite. We don't bring them to the projects, but one thing, the biggest reason I wanted to start my own business was to have freedom of my own schedule.
Yeah.
I didn't want other people telling me I had to be in the office at a certain time, couldn't leave till a certain time. You have to wear this on this day. You have to wear this on this day. I was just kind of done with it. And so, that freedom of schedule and freedom to do what I want to do is really important.
Huge.
And so I think the kids have felt that lifestyle a little bit. We've done quite a bit of travel in the last year and a half that we probably wouldn't have done, if I had a job and had to ask for time off.
Where did you go?
So we took this past summer. Most of our travel is kind of condensed to to the summer just because of my wife's schedule being a teacher.
Being a teacher.
But we went to, so we always go out to the East Coast for a week. She's from the Boston area. So we go visit her family for a week out in Massachusetts. We we love the lake, so we went down to Table Rock Lake. We do that every year. We went out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming for a week this year, which was cool. And then my wife and I recently just got back from Miami for a few days.
Oh, nice. Just you and her?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. So last couple of weeks ago was our 15-year wedding anniversary. So we
congratulate.
Thank
Where'd
you.
you meet her at?
College in Missouri.
Okay.
Yep. So that was good. So
has she been pretty? I mean, I always like to ask that. Like, was it hard to go from corporate stable income to entrepreneur and all the ups and downs? Was she all right about it, or was it, supportive, or was it kind of a rocky road and she just trusted you? Or
supportive, yes. All about it, I would say no. She's much more reserved when it comes to finances. Like I don't know. I would imagine a lot of people in her position are this way, but she wants security. She wants to make sure things are taken care of.
Kids and everything, yeah.
Which isn't unreasonable, when you have a family. And so I would say that she was probably a little more nervous than she let on. But
I mean, you did just buy a house.
That wasn't going to stop me.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I bought a house, bought a new truck, and quit my job the next week.
Is the truck up there?
Yeah. It's
what kind of truck?
I got a Ram 1500.
Oh, nice.
Which I like.
Yeah.
I like the Rams. I'm not tied to a certain brand. Some guys are like, ride or die with Chevy.
Yeah.
I don't really care that much as long as it's nice.
Yeah.
But so she was probably nervous.
I bet she was probably like,
her. She was probably nervous.
Yeah. She's good. I mean, she's awesome people. I mean, she's super supportive and lets Micah do what Mike wants to do. And, so but she also, he has a track record. So, I mean, whatever he puts his mind to,
he does, like you said,
some people, wives would not be that way because they don't follow up and do what they're supposed to do. So luckily for Micah, that's the case. But yeah, I forgot about you bought that truck too.
Well, you can't start a construction company without a truck.
Yeah, then you bought a trailer.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I bought a trailer, yeah.
So, I mean, and he wrapped it?
I didn't have, not completely, yeah. I had some graphics put on. I wasn't wrapped, but.
So new house, new
truck, trailer,
nice expensive truck, nice trailer. He's all decked out, got the hat. He's like, I'm doing this. Quit my corporate job, and now he's killing it. So super cool.
What's the next big thing that you got coming up? Is it a project? Is it a trip? Is it an investment goal? Or?
There's always projects coming up. I wouldn't say anything particularly noteworthy. I think I'm just excited about, when you have a business that's already going somewhere, it's exciting to be able to make decisions in the business that you think are for the better. And so if you have a business that's stagnant, you're really not making any decisions. You're just trying to survive.
And it's hard if you let yourself get in that stagnant position and become comfortable, and it's really hard to get out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you have to just change it up, change industries, start something new, start something fresh. So I guess I'm excited about this next year, just working a little bit more on the business than in the business.
So you said that's kind of your goal. Is that hiring 2 more people? Is that
right now that looks like, getting our project schedule, selling enough projects that it allows me to hire another guy. And so right now I mentioned we're a little slow, which we are. I think by the time March, April hits, I'm hoping to, have that project schedule, 3-4 months out, and, that'll allow us to hire another guy, and just go from there.
Well, these projects are normally projects people are living in, so you can only come in and be operating during a certain time of the day. You can't just show up at 6 a.m.
Right,
and knock the work out.
Right, and that's another reason I like outdoor projects like decks, is because the client doesn't care when you're there.
Yeah,
if you're doing a kitchen, like, you got to communicate. I'm going to be in your kitchen at this time, and if it changes, you got to let them know. Right, they got to have the house open. There's a lot more to deal with. You got to let them know who's coming and going with subs and things like that. But with a deck or an outdoor project, it's like, yeah, we'll be there on and off this week. We'll get it done. Okay, sounds good. They don't care.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So if you were to do it all over again, and you're looking back to your young self, what are some advice that you would give to the younger generation coming out of college or whatever, to as an entrepreneur, been out there doing it for a while? What's some advice that you'd give to the younger people?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of this over the next decade. I think as college becomes less, I'll say less popular.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of people are figuring out it definitely not worth the money, might not be worth the experience at this point.
Yeah.
If you have a passion about, or if you want to do something that requires college, go to college for sure. But so many kids are there for a reason that they can't even explain.
Yeah.
If you look at a business owner and you say, hey, I'm going to invest 4 years and 6 figures into this, they're going to be like, what do I get at the end? Right?
Yeah.
And college kids don't ask that. They're not taught to ask that. So I think they're starting to wake up. So the advice I would give to younger people is unless you really want to go to college for something, start working jobs that give you skills that you can then use in whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. So find jobs that teach you how to sell.
Yeah.
Might be uncomfortable, but learn how to sell. Find jobs that teach you how to be creative. So teach you Final Cut or teach you Premiere or teach you how to take photos or do videography or create something. So find jobs that give you options down the road, I guess would be my advice, because it's good. It's not super practical to tell a college kid or someone coming out of high school, hey, just go start a business. They have no skills, right? Yeah. And it works for some people. Some people they're just off and running, but I think that's a select few. I think you have to gain some type of skills and experience before you can reasonably be effective at something. Oh,
for sure. Me and my buddy were just talking about that, how we thought that school tuitions were 5 years away and they're going to be taking a big hit, and then trade jobs will be coming back in hot and heavy, and because you just see so much more potential in one, growth, raises, and you don't normally have a cap for your position, and you can start your own bit. I think there's a lot of value in trade schools, and somewhere along the way in the past decade or two, I think people migrated away from more physical jobs, and now we're having to deal with those ramifications and consequences of not having a strong trade work environment around us. So I really agree that I think that it's just a matter of time. Yeah, and you can make
it's coming back though. You could just there's so many
trade jobs,
and
you
organizations,
can start,
and I mean there's so much wealth into it. I heard through, this is just kind of a stat, but 2022 in Midwest, in Des Moines and Central Iowa, every time someone sells a house, it equates to $70,000 of money that's created for people. $70,000, and
what?
18,000 of it was like commissions and those kind of things, and title companies, appraisers, that kind of thing, like the actual. But then there was like $35,000 was new construction. And you think about how much money, how many jobs does that create for new construction? And then there was like $8,000 for suppliers like Menards and those employees that are having to stock, supplies and what that creates. But it came out to be $70,000 for one transaction. Wow. And it was like $1.05 billion last year from the real estate as a whole that's pumping into, Iowa. Yeah. And that's why it's so important. But behind all that money, there's trades, part of that is people need to know how to do stuff. People need to know how to, from electrical and plumbing and, HVAC. I mean, there's so much, anybody, if you learn a trade, man, there's all kinds of work, right? And especially people that are reliable, that are, that have, there's a stigma with contractors. Yeah. We all deal with it, that they don't communicate. They're good, They might be good at their trade, but they're not really good at everything else. And it's true. If you want to set yourself apart, right? Would you agree? I mean, Mike, you're doing that with your communication and your marketing, and now you can charge a boatload of extra money because because most people don't have that experience with contractors.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people are willing to pay for things that they find to be valuable, and good communication is something they find to be valuable, especially when someone's working on their house. And so people are people don't like it when they don't know what's going on with their own house. So for sure.
Have you had any difficult situations with subs or having to fire? I know you said you work with your brother-in-law, but prior to that, has there been any kind of difficult situations you've had to address?
I wouldn't say personnel-wise. There's subs that are better than others, so you might not use them again on a project. But the projects are usually quick enough that even if they do a bad job, there's not even time to fire them. If they make a mistake, get back here and fix it, and then if it happens enough, you don't use them again. But it's hasn't been a huge issue for us yet.
When you're talking about sales, of course, our friend Grant Cardone. That dude's
the man.
Love Grant. Yeah,
Grant's
right?
Great. Have you read 10X?
Yeah, I've read 10X.
Yeah,
I've read all of his books. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Micah likes to read, but
I subscribed to his Cardone University, his sales school.
Was it good?
It was decent. Some of it was outdated, like the videos and stuff, but the info was he's good.
So tell us more about that, because I want to know what your thoughts are, because you talk about how important sales, like you got to be good at sales. What do you think is the biggest factor of that? Like what components of sales are
all sales is communication. That's all it is. Getting good at having tough conversations.
Have you read Crucial Conversations?
Yep.
That's a good book. Amazing book. That really helped me with my team and just how to communicate with clients, employees, people I look up to. My family works for me. And just so I didn't feel so overwhelmed with emotions and I didn't know why I felt this way, or I knew the conversation was going to be difficult. And just, have you read that book? Oh my gosh. It's one of my favorites.
It's been 8 or 10 years since I read it, but it's on my bookshelf. It's phenomenal. It's a good book.
Phenomenal.
It's a good book.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. So I think just communication is, and tough conversations are part of sales. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
People get nervous when it comes to sales because, what if they say something I can't respond to? Well, tell them you can't respond to it. Get back to them. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it's just, being a likable person. Are you knowledgeable? Are you have to have knowledge in the area that you're selling, clearly. But
what about the close? What are some of the things you're sitting down with the client, you told them about the project, they told you, what's those...
A closing trick? Is that what you're asking for right now?
I'm not a huge fan of the super hard close.
Yeah.
I think some industries need that. So if you're
car salesman or something.
Right, car salesman, or if that client could walk off and go anywhere else, 10,000 other options to buy from, then you might need a hard close.
Yeah.
I follow this guy on YouTube who's a window washer. Have you seen this guy? He just goes door to door. He's really good at the close.
He's a younger guy, right?
Kid.
He kills it.
Yeah, he's great.
Did you see the part where some older guys got upset with one of his... Dude, the way he handled that, I thought was amazing.
Yeah. He's like,
have you seen this?
I don't think I have.
He's like, what are you upset with? And they told him, he's like, that's it?
That's my pitch, man.
Yeah. He's like, I'll go do a live pitch for you right now. You can follow me to your neighbor's house and I'll say the same thing and they'll laugh about it. And they did.
And they did. It was amazing. Yeah. Yeah. He's a stud.
So some industries like that need a hard close, right?
Yeah.
If you're going door to door, you either close it or
you're done. You're never going to get it again. Yeah.
Construction doesn't necessarily need that. I would rather that they, if they're going to invest tens of thousands of dollars in a project, I'd rather that they're confident about it.
Yeah.
They're confident about me.
Yeah.
And so just knowing, I think as far as the close go, knowing that you have something that's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I have something that's valuable when it comes to construction. I have knowledge. I have good communication. My sales pitch to a customer is, I'm going to communicate with you well. You're going to know what's going on with your project. I clearly have the knowledge to get the project done, get it done the right way. and this is the price that you're going to pay for that. And so some of them, respond quicker than others, but if ultimately they choose not to, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to have enough, as long as the lead flow is good, and you have enough leads, you're never begging for work.
Yeah.
You're never begging for projects.
Well, we blew past this hour.
Do
Oh
we?
my gosh.
I
Yeah,
did we?
yeah. But wait, before we wrap it up, we trying to ask kind of similar questions when we end things. A couple books that have been really helpful. I know we listed a couple already. And then a quote that kind of resonates with you, or you think that other people need to hear when they're trying to start their entrepreneur journey and all that thing.
Okay. Quote might be tough. I don't know if I've got one off the top of my head. Quote, I might just go with more of a principle. Treat others like you want to be treated.
Golden rule.
I mean, cliche, it's simple, but if you're put in a position where you have a choice, you know how you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to know.
Yeah.
For me, it's easy to know how a homeowner wants to be communicated with.
Yeah.
I've had contractors in my house or on my job site that don't communicate with me, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know when you're showing up. I don't know when it's going to get done. I don't even know how much I owe you. Like, I'm not just writing you a blank check here type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think just treating, just think how you would want to be treated and treat people like that, and things are going to be all right for you. Books, there's a lot of good ones. 10X is
like three, yeah.
10X is a good one. That one teaches you how to think big. It kind of stretches your mind a little bit. Whatever you're thinking, you need to be thinking, how do you do 10 times that? To
add on to that, the one thing that really stuck out with him, he was like, if you have a goal, whether that's to make $100,000 or $1 million, it takes the same amount of time to plan that goal. Now, what goes into it may be different, but it takes the same amount of time to plan it. And which would you rather come short on if you were to fail that goal, making $1 million or $100,000? When I saw that, I was carrying around, that typical check in your wallet where you have $100,000. I took that out, put it on the wall, wrote a new one for $1 million, and right back in the wallet. I was like, all right, well, that's a tone changer.
Yeah, for sure.
So then let's hear two more.
I would say, sales-wise, I would say Greatest Salesman in the World is a good one.
Greatest Salesman in the World. Who's that by?
Og Mandino. Super old book. Dustin's read it.
Old school, yeah.
Old school. Book. It's more of a story, which is why I like it. It's not like, hey, this is the 10 steps of sales. It's an actual story. I mean, once you pick it up, you won't put it down until it's finished.
Most of Og Mandino's books like that.
Yeah.
It's just, and there's a series. There's a lot of
Greatest Salesman in the World. Greatest Salesman in the World Part 2. Greatest Miracle in the World. There's a few of them.
Yep.
And so I just told my 11-year-old. So my 11-year-old's reading that book right now. And so, because it's a story. It's you'll love it. And then at the end, it's like the last couple chapters, you're like, it ties all of it together. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
And so that's a good one. Third one. There's a lot of good books on communication. How to win friends and influence people is a good one.
Great book.
It's gets into the weeds quite a bit, so it's a little tougher to read.
Yep. Gets a little dry at points, but like the power and the gems inside that book were amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Was that Dale Carnegie?
Dale
Carnegie. Yep. Anything by what's his name? Who's that other old author?
Robert Greene?
No, not Robert Greene. Slipping my mind. Anything by Dale Carnegie is good.
Yeah.
Read Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
I read the Bible a lot. I like the Bible.
Oh, we should have tapped into that a little bit.
So
we'll have to have. Oh yeah.
We'll have
what's your goal for 2023? What's like a stamp mark that if we were to have you back next year, we'll be able to hold you accountable.
We'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
That Bible.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I would say goal. A lot of people focus on revenue when it comes to construction. I could care less about revenue. I'd rather focus on profit. So if our if
I
our
love this
if our
guy.
revenue
Well,
if our revenue stayed the same but our profit went up by 20%, I'd be like, that's successful.
Okay.
You know, I hear a lot of contractors be like, I want to do $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
Like, but if you don't make any more money, you just did extra work for no reason.
Well, is there a way we can hold you accountable
So yeah,
to that?
next
Yeah, if you don't want to
when you
put
come back next January, February, we're going to be like, dude, did you hit your?
In 2023, I want the business to profit 150,000.
okay, and then that includes your wage.
That does not include my wage.
That does not include your
No.
wage. So 150.
So I pay myself every month, and then on top of that, I want the business to profit 150.
Oh, that's what I was meaning. Yeah. Okay. So,
So-
you
Yeah.
pay yourself every
Yeah.
month, and
Right.
then you want an extra 150
Right.
again.
Yep. That's what I
That
want.
we can track that. All right,
It's a
Micah.
hard
Thank you
number.
so much,
Yeah.
dude. I appreciate it. This
Thanks
is a
for
good
having me
one.
on.
Yeah.
Thanks, D. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us and tune in.